Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's a pleasure to welcome you here as we celebrate Pride Shabbat. We come together, LGBTQ plus and allies, to affirm that love is love. As we gather this evening, we invite you to just take a moment to check your phones to make sure that they are quiet and in silent mode so as not to disturb our worship. And I'm feeding back. I always say I prefer my feedback after services. And also we invite you to look around the room, find the exits. There's one over here, two on the sides, in the back, on the side there. It's always good wherever you go, make it a good practice to locate where the exits are. As we gather this evening, we also invite you to just sort of take a moment, be here. Maybe you were running beforehand, maybe you were trying to get dinner on the table, maybe you had a busy week, maybe you didn't have a busy week. No matter what, it's nice when we come together for Shabbat just to sort of take a moment, take a breath, and just be here and enjoy the beautiful surroundings and the beautiful faces that we gather with. And because there are so many beautiful faces, we invite you to look around. Find one of those faces that you don't know, introduce yourself to that person, and wish them Shabbat Shalom. Tonight we're going to have some special readings and some special speakers, and we invite you to follow along on the screen. We're not going to be using the prayer book this evening, and we will be leading you through a special service that takes a lot of the readings from Mishkan Gava, a new compilation of readings about the LGBTQ plus experience, and contains beautiful prayers by CCAR Press. That's where a lot of our readings will come from tonight. So we will begin. There it is. Let's read together. In the house of God, how good it is to gather in a rainbow of affections and orientations in Beit Adonai, the house of God, who loves each of us as we are created, who loves without limit and forever. How sweet it is to gather men and women, boys and girls together in Beit Adonai, the house of God, who hears the prayers of all people. How wonderful it is to gather on Shabbat in Beit Adonai, the house of God, who brings rest and renewal to our people on the seventh day. How joyous it is to gather in Beit Adonai, the house of God, who values deeds of caring and justice far above the recitations of creed. On this Sabbath of LGBTQ Pride Weekend, we welcome the Shabbat into our midst. On this night, we express the love in our hearts for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people everywhere. We celebrate that we were created in the divine image. We pray on this Sabbath that all people will be able to escape oppression and taste the freedom of the promised land. As we light our Sabbath candles, let their glow light our way from the closets that still hold us in darkness. Let the Shekhinah lead us with a pillar of smoke by day and a pillar of fire by night through any wilderness toward equality. May these Sabbath tapers inspire each of us to wholeness and holiness. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
When I see a rainbow on the flag flying from the lamppost, fluttering in the Pacific breeze, I know that God made a covenant between us. If we lived our lives in black and white, we would never see that promise God made. To see all those colors together reminds me that God is there for you and me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lemase v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemigrae kodesh zecher litziad Mitzrayim kivanu bacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. Let's read together. Come, my beloved, to welcome Shabbat. Come, my beloved, we say to Shabbat. We turn and welcome her in. Sometimes we compare her to a bride, sometimes to a queen. Every time we compare her to a woman and ourselves to a group of male lovers waiting for her to arrive. We don't get enough stories about women who are loved by women, about men who are loved by men. We don't get enough stories about lovers who are neither men nor women. We don't get enough stories in which love does not fade, in which we see ourselves as the lovers and Jews we are. We have been given something in Ruth and Naomi, in David and Jonathan, and in Joseph, something we hold and cherish, but that has also been clouded, questioned, and hidden. We honor that, we honor them, but we want more, we deserve more. Every Friday we bow, and in front of us is more. In front of us is love. Love however we feel it. Love that fills our Shabbat and our tradition that honors the lovers. Hit orari, hit orari. Awaken, awaken. Be present, be proud, be here. At Sinai, God said, remember that I told Shabbat that the community of Israel is her mate. She keeps us holy. She keeps us warm. She keeps us safe. She reminds us that each of us is a lover. Every Friday we say, "Come, my beloved," and she responds, "I have been here all along. I have shown you how to love in whatever way you do." Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu yotzer ha'olam, sha'asani b'tselem Elohim. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, creator of the universe, who created me in the image of God.
Gadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'b'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'gala u'v'zman kariv v'yimeru Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'alam U'Lam E'alamaya Yitbarach Yitbarach Ve'yishtabach Ve'yitpa'ar Ve'yitromam Ve'yitnaseh Ve'yithadar Ve'yit'aleh Ve'yithalal Shemei D'Kudsha Richu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Da'amiran be'alma v'yimeru Amen. Please rise as you're able for our call to worship. La la la
Together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Together. You have loved the people Israel with a never-ending love. You have given us your Torah, laws, and statutes to guide us, so that our lives may be filled with holiness and happiness. We know that we must find ways to strengthen our faith and hope in you. Your Torah acts as our inspiration. Help us, O God, to find ways to renew our commitments as Jews. Teach us to feel proud of all our identities. For you, Eternal One, made us as we are. We say, praised are you, source of all, who is the lover of the people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema, listen. Yisrael, God's struggler. Adonai, was, is, will be. Eloheinu is our God. Adonai, was, is, will be. Echad is one. Listen, God's struggler. Was, is, will be is a reflection of my own divinity. Was, is, will be the one who moves the universe, the one who knows that being can never be static, the one in whose image I am made bears witness to my own unity. I give thanks to that spirit of life who allows for the continued revelation of self. I marvel at the wonder of sexuality unfolding. I lift up the truth of all the ways I have loved, do love, will love. Brucha at ya achdut ha'olam shoma'at ha'emet. Blessed are you, oneness of the world, who hears my truth. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Le'olam, Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. And you shall love Adonai, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you on this day shall be upon shall bind them for a sign upon your hand,
And
they shall be for frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, and upon your gates, that you may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
We join together. Our people came out of Egypt, a mixed multitude, the spray of dividing waters, sparkling diamonds all around them. We stood together at Sinai, all of us, future, present, past, amid the rumble of thunder and the crack of bright lightning, to enter into a covenant with the one who loves us, in whose shining image we are all created over and over again. We have wandered bleak landscapes, built flimsy tents of skin, and then houses of stone. We have planted orchards and vineyards, seen two temples rise and then go down in the surging flames, forcing us into exile. We have loved and lost, grieved and danced, transgressed and celebrated, hidden, suffered, thrived. And we gather here this day in the community of our people, a mixed multitude, and we sing out, "Hear, O Israel, we stand together, all of us, descendants of a single first human created on the sixth day, and of our married parents down through the generations, too numerous to name. We stand together, link arms and pray. Blessed are you, God of the universe, who sanctifies us with the commandment to love ourselves and one another in all our varied ways, and bless us with a diamond bright radiance that still ripples out from your first spoken words of creation.
Adonai. timbrels. Followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov uge'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed berachamim. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed berachamim, berachamim. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amecha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uvracha. Please rise for our Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, V'zocher chasdei avot ve'imahot, U'mevi geula livnei v'neihem, Leman shemo be'ahava, Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avram ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor leolam Adonai, mechaye hakol ata rav lehoshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umkayem emunato lishene afar. Michamocha ba'al gevurot, umidom melach, melech memit umchayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman ata l'chayot hakol, Baruch ata Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated.
Our God and God of our
Our
ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant as our heritage our holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. In the days before Stonewall, many Jews were among those who felt the sting of homophobia and biphobia, who suffered from misunderstanding and rejection by family and the Jewish community. But you, creator of us all, stood firm, reminding us what happened on the sixth day of creation. Vayivra Elohim et ha'adam b'tzalmo b'tzelem Elohim bara oto, zachar u'nekeva bara otam. Together. And God created the human in God's image. In the image of God was it created. Male and female, God created them. Until many came to understand that you do not create in vain, do not create without intent. Until many of us came to understand that we too are part of your design, loved equally by you. The more we have learned and understood, the more has pride returned to our spirit, and the more our spirits have turned to you. We pray for the day when Kol HaNeshama Tehalel Yah, when all spirits, when every soul that breathes shall praise you and admire your diverse creations.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki ata melech Adon, Bechol HaShalom. Ki ata melech Adon, Bechol HaShalom. Tasim le'olam, v'tov be'enecha טסים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, טסים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, טסים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, טסים לעולם. טסים לעולם. טסים לעולם. We pause for a moment of silent prayer. נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב אל לב נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב אל לב נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. איך שהלב נפתח חובק יד לעולם, ובקריאה גדולה נשיר לאהבה. איך שהלב נפתח חובק יד לעולם, ובקריאה גדולה נשיר לאהבה. יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב אל לב נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. אמרו הכל אפשר, זה לא מאוחר, השחר כבר עלה, זה זמן לאהבה. יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב אל לב נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. יחד לב אל לב נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב אל לב נפתח בתקווה לאהבה.
We always take a moment in our service to say a prayer for those who are ill and those who are in need of healing and wholeness, be it of their body, their mind, or their spirit. This evening, we especially call to mind in our prayers Daniel and Mindy Minerva, Stephen Rice, Jordan Silverman, Brian Roche, Ron Klug, Karen Schiffman Goldstein, Arlene Schwartz, Harriet Domro, Kate Ratner, Jane Lieberman, Ron Labovitz, Elisa Foreman, Lynn Norott, Mort Cohen, Jordan Horowitz, Jack Block, Grayson Shukovsky, Spencer Gray Rothstein, Brody Scher, Fira Schwartz, Samuel Finkelstein, Alexander Vyugenia Litovskaya, Rachel Orenstein, Alan Jacobs, Debbie Pincus, Bert Stillman, Karen Martinez and John Allen, Susan Reish, Joyce Welkes, Harriet Marcus, all those afflicted with COVID-19, and those suffering in the war in Ukraine. If there are others who could use our blessing, people who could use some healing, I invite you to simply say their names aloud now. For those we've named, for those we haven't, and for those we name silently in our hearts. Misha Beirach, Avotinu Vimotinu. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless all those who are ill. May their doctors and nurses be skillful and compassionate. May those who care for them find support and comfort. And may they all be granted refuat ha-nefesh, refuat ha-guf, the complete healing of their bodies and spirits. As together we say, Amen.
Source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I was thinking back to when we first talked about doing Pride Shabbat, and I think our first Pride Shabbat happened during the beginning of COVID. Am I correct, Cantor?
I think that might be.
Yes, I think so. And then our second Pride Shabbat also happened during COVID. So for 3 years now, we've tried to celebrate Pride together as a community, and it's a real Shehechianu moment that we are finally here back together, some with masks, some without, your beautiful, shining, loving faces, together to celebrate this evening of love and compassion and kindness. It is made especially nice that tonight we will hear from a member of our community, the daughter of someone who was up here just a few weeks ago helping to lead our Sisterhood Shabbat, Susie Beiser, and someone who grew up at, she pointed out that it was TRT, but I like to say in our community, right? Because we are one. So she grew up in our community, was bat mitzvah, b'nai mitzvah, and confirmed. And now she is here this evening to give a Devar Torah from the perspective of the LGBTQ plus community on Shalach Lecha, the parsha all about the spies who go into the promised land to reconnoiter and see what's going on there. And so it is my pleasure to welcome Hope Hirschman to teach us some Torah this evening.
but I prefer citrine, and I'm non-binary, queer, and Jewish, of course. This week's Torah Parsha, Shalach Lecha, discusses the 12 spies sent by God to scope out the safety and conquerability of Israel. 2 of the spies, Caleb and Joshua, ensured the land could be conquered, and the grounds were fertile with bountiful harvests. Yet the other 10 spies claimed the people were giants who would be insurmountable. The Israelites were frightened and fetched that they would rather return to Egypt. Thus, God decreed that only the 2 brave spies would be allowed to enter the land, and the rest of the Jews must wait 40 years to let the generation led by fear die out. Perhaps a bit harsh, but they gotta learn somehow. I guess our ancestors were slow learners. Allow me to elaborate. The LGBTQ+ community has existed forever, and there's a long history of our discrimination. One of the first recorded homophobic sentences in colonized America was in 1624. Richard Cornish was executed in Virginia for alleged homosexual acts with a servant. But let's discuss the relatively recent occurrence of the Stonewall riots. During the 60s, after decades of severe discrimination against the community, gay and lesbian bars started to become common. It was a safe haven, like Israel for the Jews, where they could be themselves without the fear of persecution. The bars were often managed by the mafia, and most of the time they had harbored bootleg, watered-down liquor and the nail-biting crime of gay people existing. One specific bar was the Stonewall Inn, which was in Greenwich Village, one of the few gay clubs that allowed cross-dressers and drag queens. These sorts of clubs were frequently raided. However, those that were mafia-run often had policemen tip them off before the police barged in. The night the riots began, June 28, 1969, the inn wasn't informed of the incoming assault. Policemen barged in, roughed up employees and patrons alike, and arrested 13 individuals. The cops took suspected cross-dressers to the bathroom and forcefully checked their sex. The safe haven they relied on was overtaken by the insurmountable giants. But this was the generation that would break the barriers. They were fed up with getting arrested and abused for being themselves, so they decided to take a stance. Employees, patrons, and neighbors who were livid with the treatment they'd been receiving swarmed outside the Stonewall. They were hit and mishandled by the police until finally a lesbian was hit over the head while being forced into a patrol car. She screamed for the entourage to fight back, and so they did. Pennies, bottles, cobblestone, and more were chucked at the police as a deterrent. They stole the Maccabee strategy of annoying their opponent to victory. After the retaliation began, hundreds of people joined the attack. Thousands remained, gathered around the inn for 5 days. The uprising is widely considered to be one of the primary factors in progressing America's laws on the LGBTQ+ community. Nonetheless, I believe this is a superb parsha for pride. Much like the 12 Israelites, we must scope out the area to see if it's safe for us to be ourselves. Some of us will refuse to back down, taking our chances against our opponents for the betterment of our lives, and some of us will hide their identity for a lifetime. Most of you have probably heard of being in the closet, but oftentimes people can be so far in the closet they don't even realize they're there. That was my experience. I had boyfriends and what I thought were crushes on boys, but they always felt obligatory, like I needed them to exist. They never happened naturally. At the beginning of quarantine, I had a lot of time to sit with my thoughts. At first, the possibility that I can't be straight was horrifying, and I was certain it couldn't be true. But the more I processed, all the little idiosyncrasies I did as a child started to make sense. My overattachment to my girl best friend, I would always care more about them than my significant other by a lot. Taking am I gay tests and choosing the obviously straight answers to make sure I was normal. Having my Barbies date each other instead of Ken. All of these things I pretended to never notice could no longer be ignored. I started by telling my closest friends, I think I might be gay, and panicking about what their reactions might be. I couldn't even say the word lesbian for a while. From the moment I accepted it until the end of my time on this planet, my life will not be the same. I must be careful of how much I talk about my personal life, what areas of the country I visit, and avoid entire countries that are not safe for the LGBTQ+ community. But these are the things my generation will fight to fix. I remember my first girlfriend. The first time I held her hand, it felt like it was the most right thing that I had done in my life. In all my past relationships with men, PDA felt like an obligation as opposed to something I actually enjoyed. I liked the idea, but every time I actually experienced it, I was met with disappointment. At first, I thought maybe physical affection just wasn't for me, but since I came out to myself, everything makes sense. So I will ignore the stares my future partner and I will receive, and I will smile brighter, knowing that we are not waiting in the desert for 40 years because of our fear. We will be each other's safe haven. For trans people specifically, especially the youth, we are often told there are only 2 genders and you must be what you were assigned at birth. But that belief is both spiritually and scientifically false. Scientifically, there are at least 3 genders: male, female, and intersex. But some scientists claim there can be up to 15. Many indigenous and spiritual or religious communities, including ours, have numerous genders. Judaism identifies 8 distinct genders, 6 of which are variations of what we call transgender in today's age. The Hebrew ones are Zachar, male, Nekeva, female, Androgynos, one who has male and female characteristics, Tumtum, someone whose gender is unclear. Many non-binary people today consider themselves to be both male and female or neither, similar to Tumtum or Androgynos, as well as 4 others describing trans men and women whose gender develops naturally or with human intervention. As Rabbi David Meyer eloquently said, I would suggest, based on the study of these legal texts, that the Jewish understanding of gender is neither binary nor even a grid into which every person must be forced to fit. Rather, we see gender diversity as a spectrum, truly a rainbow of possibilities for reflecting the image of God. As someone who's non-binary, a lot of people tell me that they/them pronouns are confusing. Of course this is understandable, but we use them all the time. Oh no, someone lost their wallet. I hope they find it and all their belongings are still there. Or the dozens upon dozens of times authors such as Shakespeare, Jane Austen, and Emily Dickinson, who are the backbone of our literature, used the singular they pronoun. In a letter dated September 24th, 1881, Dickinson wrote, almost anyone under the circumstances would have doubted if the letter were theirs, or indeed if they were themselves. Our safe haven is falling apart. With Roe versus Wade being overturned, I am deeply concerned that they will come for the laws protecting my community next. It has been said that as a result of the Supreme Court ruling, Lawrence versus Texas, the case that berides sodomy laws, and Obergefell versus Hodges, the reason gay marriage is legal now, are at risk of being revisited. If these laws are overturned, I and any other non-straight person would not only be unable to get married, but millions of us could be arrested. Unfortunately, children aren't safe either. With the Don't Say Gay bills and attacks against transgender youth, these kids need to worry about hiding their identity or risk being separated from their family. In certain states, parents can be arrested for child abuse, for simply helping their pride and joy be comfortable in their skin. I am scared for my loved ones, for myself, for the kids, for my community. If you consider yourself to be an ally, now is the time to act. Our rights are being chipped away along with our safety. We cannot stand idly by. If you are able and willing, we need your help, whether it's making phone calls to representatives and lawmakers, protesting against further infringements on our human rights, or simply providing safety and acceptance to strangers and loved ones alike. There are worse things in the world than someone changing their name or loving the same gender. The Israelites said they felt like grasshoppers, too small to overcome the giants, and that is why they failed to make it into the promised land. They did not believe in themselves. If we want to live in the promised land, in a world where love is love, and where people and children are safe to be who they really are, then we need to believe we have the strength and resources to make the necessary changes and create the world where everyone is recognized as created in the divine image. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Hope. That was beautiful, inspiring, honest, and really inspirational. Thank you. And so I invite you to join with me in a blessing for this Pride Shabbat. Mikor HaChaim, source of life, you have blessed each of us with your spirit.
In your wisdom, you have made
Each of us a unique treasure. Mayan Chayenu, wellspring of our lives, cause us to flow with courage, strength, and compassion, to love our stories openly, proudly, and joyfully. Shekhinah Shel Ahava, presence of love, you embrace us with your love. May we embrace ourselves, our partners, our lovers, our friends, our children, our dear ones, with the power of your Ahava Rabbah, unending, boundless love. Ruach HaShalom, spirit of peace and wholeness, open our eyes to the gifts and blessings we offer and receive from each other. Open our hearts to welcome each other fully and truly. Open our hands to embrace, to support, to lift each other. Begilah, Berina, Uvreut, with joy, with song, and with deep friendship. Today, as we celebrate renewal, pride, and community, let us walk together with strength, compassion, and love. Nevarech et Mayan Chayenu, Asher Tekadesh Utzmeach Otanu. We bless you, wellspring of our lives. May you fill us with joy and sanctity.
Amen. Please rise for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, latet gedula l'yotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, Vanachnu koreim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
Please be seated. Together. One day, the words coming out
will sound strange.
Oppression based on gender or orientation will be a memory, history to honor and remember. The pain of hiding, repressing, denying, honoring the triumphs of those who fought to be free, remembering the violence and vitriol that cost lives. When love wins at long last, ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. Love your neighbor as yourself will be as natural as breathing. Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. One day, love will win every heart. Love will win every soul. Fear will vanish like smoke, and tenderness for all will fill our hearts. Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. Love wins. In the end, love wins. Man for man, woman for woman, woman for man, man for woman. All genders, all orientations, all true expressions of the heart. Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha. Let this come speedily in our day, a tribute to the many and the diverse gifts from heaven, a tribute to love, deep and true, each of us for one another. Ve'ahavta l're'echa kamocha.
V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You who fought to love, you who prayed to the same God I do, you who insisted on your dignity even when the world said you had none, you who died of AIDS while fighting for a cure so that people like me might live, you who were shot in a massacre while on the dance floor, you who could not come out and held your secret until your dying day, you who were insulted, shamed, beaten, and brutalized, yet kept walking, you who contributed your fierceness, your originality, your art, and your voice to this world, I walk in your memory. I walk this path smooth and charted by your sacrifice toward justice, toward holiness, toward freedom. We think of our loved ones, whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. If you are here remembering a loved one and we read their name, we invite you to stand and to remain standing until we all join in rising for the mourner's Kaddish at the end. We recall the over 1,038,000 Americans and the more than 6,344,000 human beings around the world who have succumbed to COVID-19. We recall those whose families are currently in the 30-day mourning period of Shloshim: Jerry Rosemarin, Lee Sperling, David A. Dorfman, and Anne-Marie Rosenau. We remember those whose yard site falls this week: Stephen Albert, Neil Bergazen, Leon Binder, Ernest Baum, Joel Bornstein, Lena Brown, Ethel Cohen, Edna Coleman, Melanie Feinberg DeMarzo, Morton Elson, Matilda Tilly Farber, Pearl Fisher, Deanna Frankel, Nathan Freed, Susan Gitlitz, Joseph Glazer, Jennifer Sarah Goldberg, Rosita Gratman, Herman Grill, Joseph Grossman, Julius Hoffman, Ida Holkman, Zvi Ben Yona Jonas, Rachel Joseph, Bernard Karp, Lorraine Karp, Jeanette Kessler, Faye Comito, David Krefsky, Lillian Krimko, Daniel Kolbach, Sarah Lazar.
Libby Leff, Leona Levin, Stacy Levin, Arthur Levine, Marvin Lindenbaum, Barbara Lipman, Philip Loberfeld, Darlene Mabin, Edward Maltz, Dorothy Mandel, Jean Marcus, Florence Owitz, Matilda Polikoff, Elsa Pollock, Michael Reises, Sarah Rothman, Hinda Rutner, Larry Salos, Anna Samkoff, David Allen Sawyer, Norman Bryan Schiff, Nat Shaw, David Shine, Harold Stitch, Risa Sustin, Surel Teitelbaum, Nathan B. Thurm, Peter Viola, Sidney Waxelbaum, Charles Weber, Irving Jelinek, Shirley Zrib. And each week we call to mind 6 unique individuals who were murdered in the Shoah, the Holocaust. Ishak Markovitz, Henyo Besser, Chaya Bierman, Shlioma Pressman, Elia Gershman, Alexander Kogan.
Zichronom Levracha, may those who have touched our lives continue to bless us through the beauty of their memory. We rise now as a community for the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach Hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon u'v'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv imru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalamei alamaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudsha, b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh
Shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru. Amen.
May the source of peace send peace to those who mourn and comfort to those who are bereaved, as together we say.
Amen.
Ose shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen.
Please be seated.
We are grateful to those who made donations to the synagogue this week. Donations were made in memory of Eugene Paris, for the yard sites of Irving Jelinek, Ernest Baum, Arthur Levine, Elsa Pollock, Herman Grill, Harold Stitch, Sidney Waxelbaum, Rachel Joseph, Lillian Krimko, Faye Comito, Marvin Lindenbaum, Pearl Fisher, Nathan Freed, Tilly Gelber, Michael Rises, Risa Sustin, Peter Viola, Matilda Polikoff, Jacob Dollinger, and Larry Bookfor. Donations were also made in honor of the anniversary of Leatrice and Marvin Kravitz, for the music at the Sisterhood service and the Arcadian Chorale concert, and for the birth of Dylan Alexander Middleton. It's that time. Nice things to share. Anybody have some good news from the past week? Yes. What? How's he in college already? I remember when we were waiting at the biennial for him, for him to arrive. Beautiful. I'm just going to repeat that. A grandchild who was confirmed, and then a graduate from 8th grade, and a graduate from high school who's going to Emory, just so our friends online can hear. Mazel tov. May you always have that kind of month. Anything else? I see some other graduates out there. Happy graduation!
Yay.
Can we ask where you're going? TCNJ, yeah, you're staying close to home, hooray! You can always go home and do laundry, if you didn't realize that. So. Sorry, Hetty. Okay, that's good. Anything else? Any grandchildren going to camp? Or children going to camp? Yes? Oh,
Wow.
day camp? Oh, where's he going? Nice. Oh, I hope he has a great time. Yeah, we have some kids girl child and boy child are getting ready for camp. It's very exciting. Okay. Once again, I just want to thank Hope for showing what a great job our communities do in raising knowledgeable, Torah literate human beings, but mostly raising human beings that are good human beings and menschlich. So thank you. Again, it's hard to stand up here, but you did a beautiful job. All right, so one last, let's see, sorry. Oh, motzi. Motzi?
One last motzi.
One last motzi.
Sure.
Everybody's hungry. Please join with the cantor.
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is joyfully said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
We join in a prayer for LGBTQ people. Holy One who made us all, tonight we celebrate the LGBTQ community. Quench our thirst for acceptance of self. Help us to feel your divine presence when others question the righteousness of our lives. Let us come to know that all things are possible in our lives: love and hope, caring and friendship and family. May those of us who are deep within the closet find courage and comfort through you. Bless our community and its leaders. Grant us, O God, health and prosperity. Keep us strong as we pursue justice and civil rights. Ease the pain of those who are ill, and inspire each of us to perform acts of loving kindness and tzedakah each and every day. Fountain of life, we praise you and thank you for creating us in your image.
V'nomar, amen. And let us say, amen.
And then both men and women will be gentle, and then both women and men will be strong, and then all will be so varied, rich and free, and everywhere will be called Eden once again, and then both men and women will be gentle, and then both women and men will be strong, and then all will be so varied, rich and free, and everywhere will be called Eden once again. Last time, and then both men and women will be gentle, and then both women and men will be strong, and then all will be so very rich and free, and everywhere will be called Eden once again, and everywhere will be called Eden once again.
Let's share a blessing with one another. If you're next to someone, you can grab or put your hands on your heart as we bless ourselves and those around us. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May you be blessed. May you be safe. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May you be luminous. May you be loved. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May you be joyous. May you be healthy. May you be whole. Shabbat shalom.